Now, welcome to my quest to find a good camera to do this video. Or these videos, because I intend to do more than that. However, I am looking for a great camera that has good autofocusing, that has eye detection, face detection, that has many bit rates and that is very efficient and that has many options. Now, I do like my Fujifilm X-H2, which I'm recording on right now, because it has these 7 custom modes that I can completely configure the way I want. I can have it configured on C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 and C7. I can put videos and photos wherever I want, and I just have to turn the wheel. And everything is already configured. I got the right color profile, I got the right bitrate, I got the right frame rate, and I got the right resolution that I'm actually intending on shooting on. Now that is very, very cool. Now, because I do shoot photos as well and not only video, I like the fact that I have 7 of these on my Fujifilm X-H2, so I can have a couple for photo and a couple for video, and I don't have to jump around. On many other cameras that I've seen, this is not easily the case. Now, of course, contenders to the Fujifilm X-H2, in my opinion, is not something like a Sony A6500 or 6700 or something, but it is more like the full frame cameras, because the feature set and the possibilities and the usability of the Fujifilm X-H2 is very high level professional in my opinion, even though the autofocusing system sometimes seems to be let's say a little quirky. I do enjoy shooting with the Fujifilm X-H2, but as contenders I would see a Sony A7 IV, a Panasonic S5 Mark II or Mark II X, whatever, an S5 II X, or if I really want to, a Nikon Z6 Mark III or a Canon, I would say an R6 Mark III, but they currently are at the Mark II still. Now there's the R8, which is very, very good, but the battery life is way too short. And I miss IBIS in that one. Moving on to the Sony system, which has an amazing autofocus. Now, I've shot on Sony A7s Mark IIIs before, and they are good, they are fun, and they produce a good image, but I find it very limiting, because on an A7s Mark III, for example, you are only limited to 16:9 aspect ratio, you don't have anything else. Plus, if you try to crop around in photography or you want to do photos with it, well, you are limited to roughly about 12 megapixels, which is good if you're shooting on an iPhone, but, you know, sometimes you wish for 24. And the difference between 12 and 24 is way more visible on pictures that you print than the difference between 24 and, let's say, 36. Then you have the Sony ZV-E1, which is basically an A7s Mark III, but cheaper, less weather resistant, and no EVF. But for video this could be a solution. However, I find it still relatively expensive, specifically because the Panasonic S5 IIs, the S5 II and the S5 II X, are cheaper, including a kit lens, while the Sony comes without. Battery life, of course, on the Sony seems to be better. The focusing seems to be better on the Sony, but stabilization is far better on the Panasonic if I choose on moving around, hand-holding the camera. And then there's the Nikon and the Canons. While both of them having equivalent autofocuses, or the autofocusing systems, the Nikon Z6 Mark III seems to be a better choice, even though somewhat quirky in its constructions with the shutters and maybe dynamic range. Then again, it has good autofocusing system, it has good stabilization, and the readout speed of the sensor is really good, because it's a 24 megapixel sensor that's partially stacked, and you have less than 10 milliseconds readout speed, which for the price it's currently at 2100, that is very good, because most other cameras don't have these readout speeds, so the line skewing of the rolling shutter is a lot more pronounced on others. Now the Canon R8 seems to be interesting, but battery life is, as I said, really short, and the autofocusing system is not necessarily always all that great, and it does not feature any IBIS. Now the limitation of IBIS is of course the wide-angle lenses, which seems to be a problem for many vloggers, but if I look at a Panasonic S5 II, there are digital helpers that actually seem to all but eliminate the wobbly edges when you walk, even on wide-angle lenses such as 20mm lenses. So in essence, it seems like if I want another camera that is good in autofocusing and that can do these videos easily, it seems to be a Panasonic S5 II or the X version. Now granted, the difference between the X version and the 2 version, which is the most interesting part to me, seems to be the direct SSD recording. Because for videos like this, H.265, internal recording is way more than enough. Then again, if time is of the essence, I have to say I am missing the CF Express on the Panasonic, because the CF Express card can be read so much faster than an SD card. And that's actually the fun part about the whole thing, is that my Fujifilm X-H2 has a CF Express card, and the Type B at that, so it's twice the speed of the Type A that are in the Sonys. So to transfer the footage is almost instant, because a 500 megabyte file is copied in less than a second, specifically because my computer for editing has an SSD that is rather quick. So I'm dragging and dropping files over to it, and it's there. It's like it was always there. So do I really need external SSD recording? I highly doubt it, specifically if the CF Express is there. Now of course, CF Express cards are more expensive than SSDs, but I already have 5 1/2 terabyte CF Express cards. So do I really need an external SSD in recording? Now granted, I don't have CF Express Type A cards because Sony are the only ones using them. And I know some people prefer that, as they say, I can use my SSDs, my SD card, and my CF Express cards at the same time in the same slots. So I can have both, so in essence, it's quicker. But then again, CF Express Type B cards are quicker and are a lot cheaper than CF Express Type A cards. So maybe just recording on one card would be enough, and we don't need 2 cards to record simultaneously. So then again, CF Express Type B might be better. But in that case, I only have the Nikon Z6 III or my Fujifilm X-H2, because they are the only ones recording through a CF Express card of the ones that I've mentioned. Of course, I could go for a Canon R5 II, but then we are jumping way over budget, and for that price, there might be better choices. And if I'm only looking for a camera to do videos on, well, there you go. It's difficult to know. The reason why I'm trying this, or why I'm looking for another camera, is because the Fujifilm X-H2 sometimes doesn't seem to focus on the eye. Well, it does focus on the eye, but the sharpness itself seems to be either on the forehead, on the cheeks, or even sometimes way behind my eyes, here on my hair. Maybe that's because the camera prefers my hair, even though sometimes I have difficulties of keeping it at bay. You know, bad hair days and stuff. But then is a choice for another day. As I said, I have multiple possibilities and I have to select wisely, because a camera system is expensive, because you pay $2,000 for a camera and then you pay another $1.5 for lenses, batteries and cards. Because if I go for the Panasonic, I need to buy UHS 2 V90 cards, and I currently only have V60s because I got ACF Express in my Fujifilm X-H2, and for my Nikon Zf, the bit rates never exceed what a V60 card can do. On the Panasonic, on the other hand, the S5 IIs and the S5 II Xs, they do exceed these limitations, depending on the bitrate. But then again, open gate for anamorphic lenses could be cool, even though I am losing the autofocus mostly then. But the Sonys, honestly, I've shot on many Sonys, the A7 III, the A7 IV, the A7s III. I cannot get used to the menus, even though the Nikon menus are more complicated. But then again, I'll have to choose at some point in time. Until then, I'll probably use my X-H2 and maybe my Nikon Zf, depending on the situation and where I am. So let's go and check this out then. Anyways, thank you for watching my family. See you next time.